Hello and welcome to this intermediate use of EP for health and PE video. Today we're going to focus more on using data to drive learning outcomes for your students. Now in the last getting started video, we looked at the Discover tab, we looked at all the different units in health and PE, and then we added them to our course. So let's jump back into our course and let's have a look how we can look at some more data by using these lessons and assessments. So if we jump back in, and once again, I'll take you back to the home screen. I did assign to this English class, so pretending that's HPE. And there's our relationships unit that we're looking at. So from here, we're going to look at more how do we set quizzes and assessments. So last time we looked at these individual lessons and how they were used. If you would like, though, to use these lessons as a quiz just to gauge on some knowledge and understanding data, maybe as a little formative quiz, if we select them, when we click Assign, instead of going Task, we can select Quiz. So that's a great way to just get some formative data for your students. But we can also use these topic tests as well. So first of all, let's have a look at this topic test. So within here, you will see how many questions. This one contains 20 questions. And as you can see, they are all automatically marked questions, so 0 marking for teachers, which makes life a lot easier for staff. It also makes it easier when you're looking at data and trying to track it as well for your students. So as you can see, it's divided up into certain topics within relationships itself. So if we want to assign this, we can click that Assign button like we showed in the previous video. Or if we know we already want it, we can go assigning straight from our course planner. So here it is, and we're going to go straight to Assign. Once again, you can assign to one class or multiple classes depending on what you need, and multiple students, or remove them if needed as well. So we want to set it. So let's be really specific with this one. I am running this test tomorrow. So I'm going to put tomorrow, and then I'm just going to leave it open for most of the day because that's when my class is anyway. There's what we are teaching. Oh, sorry, this is what we are assessing. Now we might want to change this name. A student might not like to see topic test as something in here. So I might just change this to something as simple as relationships quiz. And let's pretend we're doing this as a bit of a pre-test as well, which we can do just to gauge their knowledge. Another great thing about Education Perfect is that we can automatically differentiate the work for you as well. And that is called this recommended next steps. So if you leave this on, there are multiple lessons within the relationships unit, which are linked to this quiz. If a student gets below 70%, they will automatically be assigned the lessons that relate to them and which they need to complete. You can also put a limit on this. So if I click this limit button, we're going to see this has got 8 lessons attached to it, but we might want to limit that to just 4 for the students to complete. That might be for homework tasks, in-class time to break up your lessons as well. If you don't want it to set lessons, you can also turn that section off as well, but I'm just going to keep it on for this example. We then have some options. How many attempts would you like? If I'm using this for formative data pre and post testing, I'll just give them 1 attempt. If I'm using this for revision though, you might want to give them 10, 12, 100 attempts, whatever you like as well. If you decide to use more of a summative, or you want to make sure they do it just in class time, you can also turn this access code on. That means the students can't get in to give them that code. And if you have multiple classes using, you can refresh this code at any time as well. And you just put that on the board for the students to access. This also has full screen monitoring, which we went through in the last video as well. Would you like the marks to be automatically sent to students? Perfect, it's already there for you. If you'd like to withhold any of these student data and release it later, you can turn this on. You can also use text to speech and then set any email notifications you would like to do. Then just click Assign. Now, to find where this is, it is now an assessment. So we just go on the left-hand side here to the Assessments tab, and we'll be able to see it. There it is, Relationships Quiz Week 1. If I click in there, here's all the information, editable until the day that you do it. And there's that access code as well to put on the board, so you can copy and paste that if you wish. This also has some live monitoring features as well, and I'll show you that now. So the monitoring data is slightly different on the monitoring tab. You can still see when they've logged in, when they've started, when they've finished, but you do get these extra couple of buttons here as well. So if you'd like to lock the assessment at any time, you can do so if you need to pause, for example. You can also extend time for anybody or the whole class or all the students at once. And if you need to submit all attempts, the lesson might be ending or there's an emergency, you can also submit all attempts with 1 click and the whole quiz and assessment will finish for everybody. When we look at the reporting data, this is very different compared to the task reporting data. So this is where you're going to see some really good formative numbers and data for you to report on. So at the start here, it just shows you all 12 of my students have finished, average mark, bar graph as well of where they are sitting. But the really good data comes in a little bit further down, as we can see here. So I can see when my students have done, I can do it by percentage, I can do it by name, whatever I want. And with this one, we gave them multiple attempts, so we can see their improvement over those 5 attempts. And then it breaks down every single topic that we cover. So a lot of our pre-built cover certain topics, and if you create your own quiz, it will also have certain topics that it will cover. Why that is important is if we scroll down even further, we can now get a breakdown of all the topics that were covered in this quiz or in this assessment. So instantly I can see that this is, I know we're doing HPE, but this is just another example. I can see that bearings and quadrants is definitely a weaker point as far as this class goes. So I can maybe focus on that in the coming weeks. This also shows who's been recommended those lessons. So earlier I said that we can automatically differentiate. So if I look at this first one here, areas and grids, if I click on it, I can see that these 4 students in that class were assigned that lesson because they scored less than 70%. I can also then track who's completed here. So Arian's obviously already completed this homework, whereas the other few are yet to start. So I can select any of these lessons and I can see exactly who's been assigned what, and I can see here Dylan's 36% complete as well. So a really good way to track your class as far as what their strengths and weaknesses are, so you can focus on certain things in your class. If we scroll a little bit further down, it then does have a complete breakdown per question. So we can once again have a look at where they're faltering. So as we can see here, all these questions wrong. So I can jump into this question and instantly see what the question type was. And we might want to use this as an example in our next lesson to really hone into why we're all getting that question wrong. The last part to really point out here is that EP can also automatically compare all the results for you automatically if you use a very similar or the identical quiz or assessment within EP. To do that, as you can see here now, I've just moved into an English one, and this is a post-test. So we're still in the report data, everything looks the same. I can see individual students, which I did mention earlier, we can export into a spreadsheet if needed. And once again, we can see our strengths and weaknesses. But more towards the top here, I can see this button called Compare Results. This is where it's really, really cool. So if I click Compare Results, you'll automatically find the first time we did the test, and I named these pre and post just to make it easier, so they might be named something different for you. So if I click on that, it instantly gives me comparative data on my class. So I can see in that 6-week break that we've improved by almost 25% as a class, which is fantastic to see. A couple of different graphs I might want to show you kids as well. And then for those individual conversations and conversations with parents, I can now come down here and I have a breakdown of my students' results individually. So if I jump onto Samira here, I can see she's gone from 40 to 73, which is great, but I want to get that graph as well. So I click on there and it instantly pops up. These can be used in parent-teacher interviews, one-on-ones with students as well. These are printable. You can export this data as well, but a really, really powerful tool to utilize EP's quizzes and exams, get some really good formative data, and you can also compare this with your students throughout the whole term. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please look out for the advanced use of EP in health and PE, where we talk through how you can create your own assessments and content within EP.